You want to be in a video? You want to be in a video with me? Hello everybody, welcome back to our channel. I am Adorkable Kitty and it's time once again for another episode of Kitty Reviews, so let's just hop into it. Okay, I'm sorry. You go do kitty things. Meow. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Adorkable Rachel and it's time once again for another episode of Rachel Reviews, so let's just hop into it. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is the brand new Harry Potter universe movie that, interestingly enough, does not contain Harry Potter. In fact, it takes place about 70 years before Harry Potter even went to Hogwarts, so it's basically the first Harry Potter prequel. And it's also the first feature film where J.K. Rowling wrote the screenplay herself, so there you go. So the movie takes place in 1926 and there's this British wizard who comes to America. His name is Newt Scamander and he's played by Eddie Redmayne. And he's got this briefcase, you see, that has all these fantastic beasts inside of them. But his briefcase is accidentally switched with that of a Muggle, played by Dan Fogler. And he ends up taking it home with him and opening up the briefcase, and then unsurprisingly a bunch of beasts are suddenly wreaking havoc all over New York City. Newt also comes across a witch agent named Tina who helps him retrieve some of the beasts, along with her ditzy but also kind-hearted sister Queenie, who, interestingly enough, sparks up a very genuine romance with the Fogler character. Oh yeah, and the Fogler character also comes along for the ride because, you know, he kind of caused all this. Since this takes place in America, there's actually a lot of different rules in the wizarding world here, and also there's different terms that are used. For example, when there's someone who doesn't have any magic, they're called muggles in England, but in America, they're called a No-Maj. Get it? Like, no magic. Oh boy, us Americans are so original, aren't we? Actually, I do like when we visit the Magical Congress of the United States of America and we actually see that in a lot of ways the wizarding world is light years ahead of the Muggle world. For example, they actually have a black female president. That on its own is pretty damn cool. But then it also turns out that wizards and witches are completely forbidden from marrying No-Majs. Rude. So in some ways, I guess it kind of reflects the segregation laws of the times as well. Now, it would have been really easy to connect this story directly to Harry Potter or maybe Voldemort or one of the staff at Hogwarts, but what I do like about this movie is that while there's no direct connection to any of the characters that we're really familiar with, it still feels like the exact same universe. So instead, we're expanding on that universe and we're seeing it in a different time period and also in a different part of the world. Actually, one of my favorite parts of the whole movie is when they go to this speakeasy type place where they're serving drinks and it's run by a goblin gangster. Cause you know, prohibition and alcohol. Magic. I mean, that alone does a great job of capturing the era that it takes place in. The movie was directed by David Yates, who's basically been responsible for all of the Harry Potter films since Order of the Phoenix. So it's really no surprise that once again he was able to really bring us into this world of magical moments and great action sequences and interesting characters. And once again, it does a really great job of capturing the child inside of us that really wants to go with this whimsical and magical world. That, and he also did a really great job on expanding on all of these different creatures that exist in this world too. And that is one of the really cool things about this movie. The creatures themselves. There are so many different kinds of creatures inside of this one little briefcase that Newt has. There's like this little mole creature that likes shiny things. That guy was adorable. And there's also like a great big giant thing that can like shrink down to the size of a snake that can fit inside of a teacup. They're all different sizes. They're all different types. There's some that are kind of descendants of plants. But what they all have in common is that they have a special element of magic to them. Newt apparently has always had this fascination with magical creatures and he creates bonds with them and he nurtures them and takes care of them because he wants to prove to people in the wizarding world that most of them don't prove a threat to people. Eddie Redmayne just does this amazing job of creating a character that's somewhat standoffish but also really likable, and he really does have this great passion for these animals. In fact, by walking into his little suitcase, we see that he's created this great big world where he has all these habitats for all of the different creatures. He doesn't keep them in cages, he lets them run free for the most part because he understands them and he knows that naturally they're very peaceful. And when we access this world that he creates, we do spend a good significant amount of time getting to see the creatures and understanding just why he cares for them so much. It's very whimsical and magical, and it creates a really wonderful ambiance, and it's just this place that you really want to visit. Now, I've mentioned the whole part of the beast in the suitcase, but thing is, that's not the only plot of the movie. Nope, there's also a subplot of a woman who's trying to like warn the people of New York about witches and wizards, and then there's also some other little subplot of a senator who's like trying to get reelected. Granted, it did add up together in the end, but honestly, when I was watching it, it seemed like everything kind of very thinly added together. I mean, we'd like jump from one story to another, and it just always seems like we're entering a completely different film. It's like the main story wasn't enough to make its own movie, we had to actually add in all this other stuff to, you know, pad it out. And that's weird because I feel like whenever I watch Harry Potter films, there's always like a main focus with a lot of mysterious things that don't really belong, but then it all adds up in the end. But for this particular movie, the things like the subplot with the senator, I just feel like we didn't really have enough focus on it for me to get emotionally drawn into it, so when we come to the outcome of that story, I'm just kind of like, okay, whatever. Now, if you think really hard about it, yes, there are a lot of plot holes in this movie, but we kind of forgive those because it is a fantasy film and we just want to go along for this, you know, mysterious ride, but actually, you know what? There was one in particular that really got my attention. Without giving too much information away, there is a Muggle character that dies in the movie, and I can't help but wonder, once everything's resolved at the end, how do all the other Muggles take that news? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Now again, that is a tiny little minor detail, but there actually is one more gripe that I have with this movie. It's probably gonna be a little picky if you yourself are a Harry Potter fan, but me personally, I couldn't help but be caught off guard by it. So here it is. Again, I'll do my best to not spoil anything, but basically there's this kind of threatening character that's mentioned at the very beginning of the film, and then we like never mention him hardly at all throughout the rest of the movie, except for like maybe a few lines here and there, and then all of a sudden at the end, he kind of ends up being the twist. I'm sorry, but when I was watching this movie, I like completely forgot about him, and at the end of the film when he showed up, I was like, oh, right, he was a thing, I think? Did I miss something? I mean, was he like supposed to have a bigger part and then he just didn't? And I'm sure he's gonna play a bigger part in the other films coming up, but still, I just feel like a character that was supposedly that much of a threat should have maybe had a bigger build-up. Again, am I missing something? As you may have guessed, I'm not exactly a huge Harry Potter fan. Don't get me wrong, I love the movies and I love the books, but I guess I'm just not really a fan in the way that I am of, like, say, the Muppets or Star Wars. However, I do know enough where I can confidently say that this movie does belong in the same series as the previous films. And I most certainly know enough that I can confidently tell you that I am definitely a Ravenclaw. So there's that. Point I'm trying to get at though is that fans of Harry Potter definitely go to these movies to get swept away into this magical universe, and I do think that this movie did a very good job of that. I personally look for certain details, but for any moviegoer who loves the Harry Potter films, yes, you will definitely enjoy this film. And I know this because the movie does not rely on the hardcore knowledge of the Harry Potter universe that we're used to, so for the most part it does work pretty well on its own. It's not hard to follow, you do get attached to these characters, and like I said, it also does a good job of sweeping you away into the wizardry world. If you don't like Harry Potter films, then, yeah, this movie probably won't sway you. But besides a couple of weird detours and a couple of surprises that I wasn't expecting, yeah, it's definitely worth the price of admission, and I do look forward to seeing all the other films that they're gonna release. And I think from what I saw online, there's gonna be 5 Fantastic Beasts movies, so get ready, kids. So those are my thoughts on Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. So now my question this time around is, have you guys seen the film, and if so, what did you think of it? Well, go ahead and leave your comments below, be sure to like and share, and if you're new and like what you saw here, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And as always, please be sure to keep checking back for more Adorkable videos coming out real soon. Bye, Adorkable!